our region depends on tourism. It's the main income earner with billions of dollars in tourism infrastructure, hotels, guest houses, beaches that are maintained, and an economy that so many millions of people depend on. Some of our islands in the Caribbean depend solely on tourism. So when hydrocarbons wash onto a beach, as you would have seen it recently in other parts of the world, I think it was Madagascar or Mauritius, in Mauritius, that disaster in Mauritius is going to cripple their tourism economy. And when you destroy an ecosystem, for instance, many people come to the Caribbean because we have 5 of the marine turtles that exist on the planet. And hydrocarbon decimates turtle population. So we have whales, we have dolphins, and then we have a very large fishery-dependent economy that rural communities cohabit with the sea, living and eating fish and also catching and selling. And that includes crustaceans. So there's, I mean, it's ecology, it's humanity, it's economy, you know, protecting the sea from an oil spill is vital to the future of our region. We are just a stone's throw away from Venezuela, and we do intend to go back there to confirm to you and to the world that our local government here and the Venezuelan dictatorship of the Maduro regime have and continue to lie to the world about the reliability and stability of that vessel. If the vessel was stable, for instance, as they say, then why didn't they show a single photograph in a video that probably cost them 20,000 US dollars to fly out a camera crew by helicopter and all of the requirements of video? But they did not show one image to show the tilt of the vessel compared to the flat marine space. That's what our video showed. One of the most senior members of the ambassadorial team had a long conversation with me where he assured us that there was no sanctions that would be upheld if there's an environmental or humanitarian emergency. This has been used by so many persons as an excuse. Now, we are not certain. There's all types of international politics that exist, and there are certain things that are not clear to us, but we don't think that there's any US sanction that would prohibit the removal of the oil. We must not mourn the reality of the catastrophe that we have and continue to face and will face. We must organize. That's what Karl Marx said. Don't mourn, organize. And so we must organize all the English, French, and Dutch Caribbean to be more proactive through pressures of the United Nations to have international and local legislation, conventions and legislation to command action. We suffer from critical environmental threats that are crippling our rural communities who are all mostly below the poverty index. For instance, we have sargassum seaweed, which is a new phenomenon that you may not be aware of. The sargassum seaweed has migrated from the sargassum seed, and now it's a serious critical environmental problem in our Caribbean region. And it can be as deep as 26 feet deep. It's an island as big as New York City, and it suffocates every living creature that needs to get air. Ships cannot pass through it. Turtles suffocate when they swim under it because they can't get up, and it is adjusting our ecosystems in a way that will stifle several species. But sargassum is caused by global warming, and then we have the most amount of hurricanes in the history of the planet this year. And as you know, that islands are wiped out when we have hurricanes. Wiped out. Everything becomes like a desert. but we were not the cause of global warming. And although many of our islands are per capita discharge of a hydrocarbon, as a country or as a region, our contribution of ozone depleting substances is a minuscule percent of a percent. And the main nations of the world who are the main contributors do not address us in terms of any compensation, technical advice, assistance. So we are left to pay the price for global warming, both in terms of hurricanes, sargassum, and disease, dengue, and yet we don't have any international rescue or assistance. One seat, but 40 different types of environmental monitoring legislation. There's no coordination. Every little fiefdom, these democratic dictatorships, each have their own prerogative that their prime minister can overrule and make any decision as it suits him, rather than there being a national policy for coordinated environmental agenda with coordinated regional bodies to oversee and institutionalize and ensure the implementation of rules and regulations where there's a cohesive effort to protect our shared resources.